Hey guys, another episode of Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. That's Bill Althouse. I'm Tony Stevens. Right off the bat, we want to invite you to like and subscribe on the podcast. Our full podcast episodes are on YouTube, Spotify, and now Patreon. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And please like and subscribe. Also, coming up here in about 10-15 minutes, we have a very special guest that's going to be here with us to talk about probably what has been the biggest story in this city in a long time. Definitely for this week. He has made headlines in all the newspapers, TV, websites, and whatnot. But we will be the first to actually speak to Dale Carter. We're going to talk to him. Yeah, it is. And yes, we're going to talk about the whole deal with the stadium announcement. In fact, that's how we'll start the show. But we're going to start today like we do with every one of our podcasts, and that's Hot Topics of the Week. We usually start with sports, and we will today because the Chiefs have lost now for a third time in a row if you go back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. First time ever in Patrick Mahomes' NFL career, he's lost 3 games in a row, which is amazing.
And that's crazy. And the first time that we've lost 3 in a row, that the team has lost 3 in a row in 11 years. Yes. But anyway, let's talk about what happened at Arrowhead against the Eagles. Really a game that I thought the defense played really well.
I did. Well, you know, they only gave up 13 points.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So.
And it's in a game that, man, one mistake or one missed pass or just – I know Pat said we're close, but, you know, close only counts in horseshoes.
I know.
So it doesn't really matter. That drop by Travis Kelce in the end zone was like, it was the drop-dead moment is what it was, in my opinion.
Well, you know, it was right outside the end zone. He catches that ball, which we've seen him make that play 999 out of 1,000 times. And it's just something that – you know, last year the Chiefs had karma. If they needed a blocked field goal, they got the blocked field goal. Now, I don't know where it went in the Super Bowl because they certainly didn't have it. But you're playing the team that you appeared against in the Super Bowl last year.
At home.
At home. It's your first home game. Everything I thought was going in the Chiefs' direction. I thought the first week maybe just the trip to Brazil and all that threw them off. But, you know, I'm not ready to push the panic button, but I'm kind of looking for it.
Well, they're going to go to Jersey because there's no teams playing New York.
Right.
They're going to play in the Meadowlands and play the New York Giants, who actually scored a lot of points and, as the Giants do, blew a game at the end or lost a game at the end.
Yep.
But so the Chiefs – that defense is not going to give up 37 points to the Giants because if they do, then we are in trouble.
No.
But I think the Chiefs will get back on the winning track next week.
I do too. I thought they would win this week. I thought it would be a very close game. And, you know, you can talk to a high school coach, you can talk to a college coach, or you can talk to a professional coach. The team that makes fewer mistakes wins the game, and boy, that's what happened Sunday.
Speaking of mistakes, how about that outfit Kelce wore coming in?
Well, I heard he was going to an AC/DC lookalike concert after the game.
Christmas.
You know, I mean, he's Travis Kelce. He's a lovable knucklehead. He's a great player. But whoever talked him into wearing that suit with the shorts?
Yeah, he had a suit
jacket.
Did he have a tie? I don't know if he had a tie.
I don't know if he did either.
But he, from the waist up, it looked great.
Yeah.
Then he had these funky ass shorts on with no socks, and it just.
I don't know.
You know, you've seen Cam Newton dress, right? So.
Well, that's Cam Newton. That's now all anybody talks about with Cam Newton is how
the way he dresses and his hair and all that. But you know, there's a fine line between. Yeah, okay, we'll push the limit a little bit, and outright stupid.
Yeah.
And I'll go on record as saying I thought that outfit that he had on was just, it was whacked. And it's a good thing that he's already engaged to Taylor Swift because if she saw that, she'd go, what the hell?
Oh, I know. That was that was the first big mistake of Sunday afternoon for Travis Kelce.
Hey, for $10, would you wear that?
No.
Make it 20. Okay, so the Royals are in trouble. we've been talking every week. Yeah, they're hanging in. They're hanging on. They're hanging in. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. Not giving up yet, but it's pretty much, it is what it is.
Well, they're not mathematically eliminated yet. But what a horrible time to have a 5-game losing streak. And during those 5 losses, they looked like anything but a playoff contender.
Yeah, but we do have to give credit where it's due, and I'm telling you, the second greatest Royal ever. I will fight you till the end.
Totally agree.
Salvador Perez is now in the 301,000 club. Hit his 300th home run. He has 1,000 RBIs, and he's not done yet. The guy's just simply amazing.
He's unreal. And you see him on TV, and he looks like a big guy, but, man, when you see Salvi in person, is this a defensive end or an outside linebacker on an NFL team? He is a big man, and he has the greatest smile in the history of professional sports, not just the Royals, but everybody loves Salvi, and he is a great person to have as a role model, to have as a fan favorite. And, 300 home runs and 1,000 RBIs. That's just he did both on the same home run.
Yes,
that's cool.
Which was great.
Yes,
and you talk about what a great guy. He was recognized last year by his peers and fans of Major League Baseball, the league itself, for the award that is probably the equivalent to the Walter Payton Award in the National Football League. Major League Baseball awards the Roberto Clemente Award every year for a player that demonstrates community involvement and just outright being a wonderful person and contributing to the community. He won that last year, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the first Royal to ever do that.
Yes.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Well, it could happen in back-to-back years, because we just got news this morning that Bobby Witt Jr. has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. And if you're wondering, well, Bobby's kind of a quiet guy. What does he do? Well, he hosts camps for critically ill children and also for children who have lost a parent. He's also become, I did not know this, Major League Baseball's very first ever play ball ambassador, Bobby Witt Jr. So
the thing I like so much about Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez, they do so many things behind the scenes. And let's face it, there are so many athletes that call the TV crews and everybody to come on board, and they'll go give an autographed helmet or a baseball to a little kid at Children's Mercy Hospital, and then that's it. Not these two guys. It was legit when Salvi stopped and played
with the
wiffle ball with those kids
in the neighborhood.
That was great, and that wasn't. It just happened, and somebody happened to take a video of it from their house, and it became just the feel-good story of the moment. And I'd love to see Bobby win that award.
Yeah, absolutely. Great kid, great player. So we've been blessed with these guys. Are you a wrestling fan?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good. I didn't know that about you. Me too. And so is producer Tone. When they were kids, we'd go to. In fact, we went to. Was it WrestleMania 1 or 3? It was WrestleMania 3. That was the one with Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, right?
Yeah.
And those days it was called closed circuit TV. So we went to go watch it at Memorial Hall.
Yep.
And I had my son Tony and my son Paul, and they were little guys, but boy, we had a blast.
Oh yeah.
So you are a wrestling fan.
Well, I couldn't tell you a thing about it now. I know John Cena and The Rock are still in and out of it.
Yeah.
I grew up in the and my boys grew up literally in the Stone Cold Hulk Hogan
that's
era.
The best era.
And that was
Stone Cold's the best ever, I think.
Oh, unbelievable. He's
Harley
my all-time
or Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Well, I would have bet you'd watch WrestleMania. Have you watched WrestleMania before?
Yes.
Yeah, WrestleMania.
There are only very few that I've missed.
I swear that event. 90 to 100,000 people every year. It's usually in early April, and it's moves around to big stadiums around the United States. Something different's going to happen now. It's going to be the first time the WrestleMania is going to move out of the United States. This will be in 2027. Triple H, who was a big-time wrestler, is now the guy that's calling the shots. He's running
is.
it.
Yeah.
His real name is Paul Levesque. And he made the announcement this week that WrestleMania 43 in the spring of 2027 will be in Saudi Arabia.
Dubai.
Saudi Arabia. That's the first time it's ever been out of the United States.
Well, there were two in 1990 and 2002. They had WrestleManias in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
it's
North
never,
America. Okay.
Right, in North America.
My
but
bad.
this
In
way
North
across
America.
the Atlantic.
Yeah, in North America.
I can't imagine with the opulence and the money they have in Dubai with this event it's going to be insane.
I'm telling you, there's a billionaire shake your booty that's paying for that.
I know it.
I'm telling you what. So that's going to happen. The first WrestleMania out of North America. Oh, I want to bring this up too. Another Royals-related story, and it's another big-time celebrity wedding. Well, maybe, but it's somebody everybody knows.
Yes.
And bear with me. I want to read this to you guys. This actually comes off of a wedding registry, and I printed it off, and I'm just going to read it just a little bit. It says, "Welcome, family and friends. Denny and I welcome all of you to join our epic journey as we look forward to our wedding day, surrounded by our amazing family and friends. We love you all." That is Denny Matthews and Amy Baker. I don't know who
Good
Amy
for
Baker
Denny.
is, but Denny.
Good for Denny.
I mean, you've known Denny for how long?
Oh, forever.
And so their wedding date is November 15th. That is one day after Denny's birthday, his 83rd birthday. Now,
Good
I saw their
for
pictures
Denny.
on the deal there.
Yeah.
She ain't no 83. I mean, this ain't Bill Belichick, but it's pretty damn close.
no,
And
no,
good
no.
for Denny.
I know. I'm thrilled for him.
You know, Denny has been the most private individual. I
Yes,
mean, you
very
would
private.
know better if I'm wrong, because
No,
you covered the Royals for 35 years, but we never hear anything about Denny.
No, when the baseball season wraps up, Denny shuts it down. So many of the previous announcers would go on, work Big 8, Big 12 basketball, something like that. And Denny goes down in his family room, and he has a train set up that should be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And very private guy. He and I both wrote books in the mid-2000s. I wrote a book on the Royals' 2015 World Series championship, and he wrote a book just on his history with the Royals. I spent a couple of hours with him at a signing at a sporting goods dealer over in Kansas, and I felt like I'd won the lottery. I mean, that guy's got some stories, and when you just get him one-on-one, he's fascinating and great personality, and
Good for Denny.
Good for Denny. I'm happy for him.
Denny's getting married in November, right? Boy, what a weekend for him. His 83rd birthday, and then he's getting married.
I know it.
Yeah, good for him. On kind of a related subject, we've talked a lot this summer about the Royals maybe making an announcement about where their new stadium is going to be. It's not happened. One of the rumored sites, and it was talked about for a couple of weeks and then it kind of went away, was the KC Star building downtown. What is that, Truman and Grand?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Kansas City Star building. And the owner of that building was on television, and he was saying, hey, look, they want to talk. We're open to it. But, man, there's been no secret that there's been such an uptick in crime and shootings and car thefts downtown while events are going. I mean, downtown is just you hate to see that.
Oh, totally.
Just hate to see it because with the Power and Light District and
Look at the plaza.
T-Mobile. Well,
I mean, who goes to the plaza anymore?
I don't know, man. But with all the stuff downtown, so a company came in and bought that building from that man, or maybe they're leasing it. I don't know. But the company is called Patmos Tech Data Center, and they have hired new security. And this security works. This is one individual works 20 hours a week. Not an employee of Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. Doesn't have anything to do with KCPD. 4 feet 10 inches tall, 420 pounds, white and bullet shaped. Any ideas?
Deputy Dog.
Maybe? No. Danny DeVito? No. Lance, the security guard, robot.
I love it.
Kind of like a neighborhood beat cop.
Yeah.
And this is great. He's got 4 wheels. Kind of looks like R2-D2 a little bit, except he's bullet-shaped. And he makes his way through the crossroads. This thing kind of glides around on 4 wheels. It's got cameras, actually, data center. So it's got cameras, and it says greeting passerbys. So I don't know if this dude talks or whatever, but, I sure hope that bullet-shaped Lance can make a difference, or else he's going to end up in a garage sale down there.
What are you going to think if you're walking down the street, and I don't know, maybe he just works from midnight to 3 in the morning.
Yeah, 20 hours a week.
Yeah, I was surprised at the numbers. I thought it would be more. But what are you going to think if you see this bullet-shaped object coming at you? And I'm going to turn and run the other way.
Well, I think that's probably the whole point,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, because there's too many bullets going through that Kansas City, the KC Star glass.
Just next time you're downtown, just look up and
Just
see
crazy.
how many
That
are
was
out
the
of
neatest looking building.
Oh, it was awesome.
When
I remember when they built it, I loved it.
Want to do kudos to a local restaurant.
Yes, sir.
Has made the New York Times top 50 list. Any ideas? Now, this is a good restaurant town for market, 35 or whatever we are. So, any ideas? Who might be? I mean, there's some pretty obvious ones.
Well, there are some obvious ones, and then, you think of Kansas City, you think of barbecue, and I think it's Hart Barbecue. It was voted number 1 in the United States a few years ago. Then you got Gates, you got Brian's,
KC Joe's, Q39,
Q39, yeah.
No, none of them made it.
No,
Jasper's, Garozzo, none of them made it. Let me give you a little backdrop. It started as a favorite for family gatherings.
No.
Okay, Matthew Montgomery is the guy. That doesn't ring a bell, does it?
No.
He's started getting some recognition locally, and then started getting some national recognition, and now here he makes this top 50 list. The name of his place, have you ever heard of KC Turkey Leg Man?
I haven't.
I'm not making it up.
I have
KC
now?
Turkey
Leg
Leg Man.
That you were pulling my leg.
No. It's a turkey-centered barbecue place. It opened its brick-and-mortar spot 3 years ago. 1916 Quindaro in KCK. Before then, he was selling turkey legs, word of mouth, using his friend's grill. I mean, I guess he had some kind of incredible barbecue, and he was selling it for $25. And then he got a food truck. Yeah. And
which was recently named the number 1 food truck in Kansas City.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And he would go to every spot in Kansas City when they started allowing those in Kansas City. Because remember, it was illegal to have a food truck.
Yeah.
And now he still has that food truck, and he's at First Fridays in the Crossroads.
Yep.
And he, I believe he was at Tacos and Tequila, and it has been the last couple of years, and I'm sure it goes crazy there. So he's got all this recognition. He got recognition for Kansas City's People's Choice Awards.
Yep.
And I didn't know this. I'll have to ask my son, Nick. He caters for the Monarchs, for the Kansas City Monarchs.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'll have to ask Nick about Turkey Leg Man. And he says there's just 2 more things that he wants to accomplish. And I'll quote Mr. Montgomery, "We just waiting on the Royals and Chiefs. That's all we be waiting on."
Oh man, what a feel good story.
Yeah, Turkey Leg Man on Quindaro, 1916 Quindaro, KCK, and you can find his food truck around town. And now he's on the New York Times best list. Another local celeb also made the New York Times in pretty much every local and social media outlet. One of the biggest stories of the week, if not the biggest story of the week here in this town, and really all across the country. And this person is our special guest today. I think I got this right. Longest running morning radio host and program director in Kansas City. Youngest member ever inducted into the Country Radio Hall of Fame. host of his own podcast, and he's also on the radio on Friday Night Lights in Blue Springs. Former Blue Springs City Councilman, now a candidate for the Jackson County 5th District Legislature. Other than that, he's boring as all hell. He's a tough act to follow because I had to follow him on KFKF for many, many, many years. He's my longtime friend and co-worker. Ladies and gentlemen, Dale Carter. Yeah.
Friends, good to be here.
Wow, so you go from, no offense, Blue Springs Examiner to New York Times in 1 week? What the heck? Did you ever think you'd be the biggest story when it came to the Chiefs and a rematch of the Super Bowl last year?
Mind-blowing was what this was.
Okay, we're going to get right into this. You've been the stadium voice at Arrowhead for 16 years, 3 Super Bowl rings, right? 2 in-game lines that nobody will ever forget. The first down call, the third down call.
Yeah.
So you resigned just a few days before the opener. Nobody saw that coming except maybe you.
Yeah.
And I know you've posted about it. We've all read about it. Thousands of people are commenting about it. But we want to give you the opportunity to let everybody hear it from you. What the hell happened?
Well, let's back up a second on the third down call.
Yeah.
Because we had one with the Chiefs that was different than anybody else in the league. And the reasons, because I've been there a long time, and back in the day, the rules were a little more specific about cheerleading.
Okay.
And early on, when I replaced Dan Roberts, the first down call, by the way, was Dan Roberts' call. I just kept that from Dan.
Dan did that.
Yeah, Dan did that. So the third down thing, when I started doing PA, I thought in the beginning that I was the narrator for the game, that's my job, because I'd never done PA. I did play-by-play. Bill knows that. I've done that throughout my career. But when they came to me to ask me to try out, play-by-play and PA are different. It's like you're batting in the baseball game, but instead of batting right-handed, we want you to bat left-handed because everything's backwards. Yeah. And so here I am at Arrowhead, and I'm just saying, I'm trying to get it all right. This person ran the ball, blah, 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 blah. But then I came to learn that I was the audio propagandist for the Kansas City Chiefs.
You say that on your post. Yeah.
Anything that I could do within the rules to help give us an edge to win, that's what I did. And when I started getting notes, like when Mike Singletary was coaching the 49ers and we're just kicking their ass, and he sends a note up and the league rep comes to me and they said, the 49ers think you're being a little too much of a cheerleader on this, and blah, 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 blah. So that's the reason they're losing, because of me. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay. So I went to my bosses at that time and I said, let's do something different. I'll do it dramatically. That way, they can't say I'm cheerleading, so my voice isn't going up, and it became a thing, right? From the 35-yard line. It's third down. And they put a little reverb behind it, made it sound kind of like Halloween and all that. And the fans loved it. For years, for over a decade, they loved it. Okay, so fast forward to last year. We're going into the playoffs. Everybody's at high alert, right? Because we're going for a three-peat. Everybody is on pins and needles. And Brad Young, who I work for at 65 Toss Power Trap, calls me aside, and he said, you're going to hate this, but somebody from ownership went to another game, probably, on the West Coast where they really get loud with it, and they just want you to shake it up a little bit. And I said, I don't like it because we've established this, and I think our fans are wanting to do it, but I'm a team player, so whatever you need me to do. What do you need me to do? Well, we don't know. We're just going to workshop it. So I wrote down like 5 or 6 things, and we tried it during, people were coming to me like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we're just trying. We're shaking some things up and all that. So then you fast forward to last Tuesday. Brad calls me again and he says, it's the third down thing. It's still out there. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'll do anything you want to do. Well, they've got another idea. Now we have 2 PA voices. They still do post me. Nate Herron is the other PA voice. He does the pregame activities and the commercials and all that. Yeah. What they want to do is they want to have Nate jump in on third down.
The commercial guy?
Yeah. So, and there's no example of this anywhere in the league. And I'm like, well, what can Nate Herron do that I can't do? Well, I don't know, but, they just want to be heard. Ownership. They own the team, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it for 2 days, and I called him back, and he goes, well, what do you think? And I said, I'm done. I can't do that. I think that's going to be a train wreck. And he goes, it probably is. Why don't you come in and do a game and we'll show them what a train wreck it's going to be.
Probably is.
You know, our home opener with the Eagles, rematch of the Super Bowl, and we're going to experiment on stuff like this? Guys,
Why didn't they experiment during the preseason?
I don't know. Well, we were. I mean, I was still on third down throwing out some other stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, just keep playing with it," and blah 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 blah. I couldn't do that, and it brought me back to one of my favorite football films, North Dallas 40. You guys remember North Dallas 40?
Yeah. Love
The last scene, Nick Nolte's in the owner's office, the coach is there, and it's like there's this scandal brewing. They're trying to protect their quarterback. They want him to take all the weight for it, even though, you know, he wasn't any more guilty than anybody else. And the coach says, it's for the team. You got to do it for the team. And Nolte goes, they're the team. He points to the owners. They're the team. We're the equipment. We're the jock straps. We're the helmets. And what I tell people is the folks at 65 Toss Power Trap, we were the napkins and the paper cups. They don't give a second thought to anybody there. And I got a lot of examples of that, but I'm done.
That's so hard to believe over it's third down, you know, which everybody in the city knows and comes to expect. I thought that was. I always waited to hear that, especially on fourth down. Let's take it in another direction. Let's try and get positive about it. Most memorable games or calls. I'm sure. I mean, would you go to 7 AFC championships in a row, or 6 or 7?
So there was 5 in a. It's 6 total. 5 in a row.
5 in a row. What are some of the things that, when you think back on this, now that you're going to have a chance to, what are some things you think, man, I'd never forget that game, or I'll never forget calling this or that? Was it a game, or was it a call, a series?
Well, the Mahomes era is a separate book by itself.
Yes. Because
there are things that he does that it's like, oh my God, how do I call that? What exactly was that? Right. So there are a lot of things like that. But when I go back to early in my deal, it was when Todd Haley had left and they brought in Romeo Crennel.
Yeah.
And I always told people that my best game as a PA guy and my worst game were back to back.
Yeah.
So we played the Packers, and the Packers hadn't lost a game all year.
That's when we beat them, when Romeo was coaching. Yeah,
exactly. And everything was clicking. I had 2 spotters at the time, Ralph Saceda and Rich Montgomery were my 2 spotters, and the communication was perfect. We were getting everything right, and it just flowed. You know, when you're on the air, you know when it flows, and you know when it's a little more chunky. So everything was flowing right. It was a great game. I felt good about it. And then we had the next game at home against the Raiders. Mm-hmm. It was an ugly game. There were more penalties than first downs. Typical Raiders-Chiefs game. A lot of fights and all that. And our kicker is going to go out and kick the game-winning field goal at the end of the game. By the way, it's also Christmas Eve. It was our last home game. We weren't going to the playoffs, but our kicker's coming out, and hey, if we can beat the Raiders, I think it was Ryan Suckup. I think I'm right on that.
Yeah.
So if we beat the Raiders, everything's forgiven, right? So he goes out there, and the kick got blocked. And everybody's milling around, you know, at the end, like they do at the end of a game. They're shaking hands and all that stuff. And I pull out the We Lose script. There's a We Win and We Lose script. Yeah. So I pull out the We Lose script. It's like, thank you for coming to Arrowhead, blah, 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 blah. And I hear in my headphones from Rob Alberino, who is, you know, one of the big guys at 65 Toss Power Trap, who uses F-bombs perhaps more than you do, Tony, and I've known you a long time.
Jeez.
And so I won't do that.
Saying a lot.
I would do it on my own podcast, but I'm not going to do it on yours. I'll just clean it up. And he said, stop the read, stop the read. And I look up and the game is tied and we're going to overtime. And he's like, who's watching the game down there? And I'm like, Rob, it's me. I'm sorry. My bad. I mean, it was a long game with I just wanted to get the hell out of there like everybody else did. So, okay, so we go to overtime. The Raiders win the toss. 2 plays later, Sebastian Janikowski nails a field goal, and I read the We Lose script again. This is on
3 minutes later.
Exactly. This is on Christmas Eve. So I go upstairs because the control room's on, above where the PA booth is, and I go up to Rob, and I shook his hand, and I said, Merry Christmas. And he goes,
say F you?
Oh, he goes, man, you gave me a fucking heart attack. And I figured I was going to get fired then.
That's too funny.
But they brought me back. So that's best and worst
Well, I was gonna
outside the
ask
Mahomes
you,
era.
I was going to ask you about an oops moment, so that took care of that.
Yeah.
What about anything funny that just you remember thinking? Well, yeah, that's kind of like asking you and me. Was there anything funny? But we will get to that. But is there anything funny like you just God? What the hell?
Well, I'm a Midwestern guy, and with a name like Dale Carter, I mean, that's my real name. Some of the longer names in the NFL can kind of throw me. Sure. And I'll admit to you, since I'm out of there now, that one game we were playing the Giants and I was really hungover. And there was one of these guys that had one of these really long names, and Ralph gave him to me as making the tackle. I went, oh, no. And I just sounded it out like syllable by syllable, and people were laughing in the crowd.
Oh no, that's great.
And then there were names that Ralph had a way of like Divine Diablo, for instance, who plays for the Raiders.
Sounds like a stripper name.
Exactly. And so we laugh about that, and then he goes, the stripper made a tackle. We crack each other up the whole time.
That's so funny. Let's talk radio. How about that? I mean, you came to KF. Is this your 30th year?
30th was
30
March
years ago.
15th. Yeah.
And I was there. You got there, and we had some. I mean, God, where do we start with funny or crazy on air or behind the scenes stories? You got a couple.
The first story that I would tell you is that when I came in, I had a meeting with Ross Passantino, who you know well. Ross was our sales manager, and Dan Wassler, the general manager. And I came in as a young 30-something kid out of Indiana by way of Hartford, Connecticut, where I spent 2.5 years. And I said, I've never lived in a town with the NFL, and I love the NFL. And I can give you another story about my connection to the Chiefs before I got here. But I'm sitting in that meeting with them, and I said, I can't wait to get season tickets. I want to get season tickets. And as you know, there was a waiting list back then.
Oh, yeah.
And, the joke on KF program directors was the record was probably you in an interim role, for one thing.
Yeah, it was.
Was 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And Ross said, you won't work here long enough to get season tickets.
Oh, man.
So,
you showed him.
As far as the Chiefs connection, before I got here, Dale Carter was drafted out of Tennessee, number 34.
Yeah.
So I'm in Connecticut. I've driven through Kansas City once. That's my only connection to here. And I'm thinking, well, he's got my name. I got to go get the jersey. So I bought a Dale Carter number 34 Chiefs jersey. And in Foxborough at a Patriots game, and you know how wonderful they are to visiting fans. The Patriots are playing the Vikings. They're not even playing the Chiefs. And I had my Patriots coat on over this Chiefs jersey with a sweatshirt under it, and it got a little warm, and I took it off. And this guy sitting in front of me just keeps turning around and looking at me. And I got to tell you, before that happened, the helmets with the locks that the Viking fans wear?
Yeah.
The old Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough looked like a high school stadium. Did you ever go there, Bill?
I did, yes,
okay.
one time.
So, up the side of the stands were chain link fencing, right? And I look over at one point, and there's this guy wearing this helmet with the locks, and there's a Patriots fan strangling him against the chain link fence, and Boston police are running up the stands. That's the kind of crowd that you're dealing with. So I take this off. This guy keeps looking at me, and he finally turns around and he goes, Kansas City. And I'm feeling like I'm in danger here.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and he goes, why don't you fucking move to Kansas City? And like 2 weeks later, I get a call from a headhunter that says, hey, have you ever thought about going to Kansas City? And I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here I am.
You remember the time you and I went to Reba McEntire's house? I knew it. So we're all
You tell the story.
Okay, so we're dressed up. We're going to Reba's real house. Her parents are there. I mean, there's some radio people. There's some radio people there. So they have this big buffet set up. And he's got on a white shirt. I don't know if we weren't wearing tuxedos, but we were dressed to the nines. Okay. He's got this white shirt on, looking all good. And he decides to go to the dessert line first. I go, what are you doing? He goes, man, that cherry cobbler look
I think it was raspberry or something. Yeah.
I mean, this thing was chicken redder than a monkey's ass. I mean, and he's like, man, I gotta have that. I go, dude, go to the other line first. No, I'll meet you over there. So I see him. He does this. I swear, within 5 seconds, there was a line like this. It looked like the scarlet letter. This guy, and then he's like trying to rub it out. It's like, hi, I'm Reba's father. He's looking. That was pretty funny. And
you dared me to jump in the pool, which I didn't.
Oh
do.
yeah, right. That was it.
Hadn't had enough alcohol for that.
Oh yeah, golly. How about the time you sang you made the guy sing in the fan?
Oh, David Ball.
Oh my God.
Yeah, David Ball had that song "Thinking" thing, right?
Thinking problem, and
Thinking Problem.
I used to tell him, I go, that dude's got a singing problem.
Yeah. So we had a box fan in the studio to keep us cool, and I said, David, I got a great idea.
Oh my God.
Why don't you sing through the fan? That might be funny.
Yeah, it was funny to us. It was
Yes,
funnier than
I
hell.
admit.
And he did it.
That was before Toby Keith would do that naturally.
Yeah, it was terrible. I'll never forget the day you came in and said, Tiny Tim's here for you guys. I said,
And he was.
I said, what? He says, yeah, Tiny Tim was just on Randy Miller. I told him you guys would interview him. So Tiny Tim walks in. I'm sitting there with Dina Michaels. Dina's my partner at the time. So we we did our thing with him, and the room smelled like waste management on a hot, sunny day. I mean, it stunk to all be damned. So we got done, and I said, well, thanks to Tiny Tim, a.k.a. the Incredible Stinking Man. And he freaking died 2 days later.
He did.
I felt so fucking bad. It's like, wow. Oh, my God. But, there's hundreds of stories we could tell.
My.
But, been a lot of changes in radio since December. I mean, I retired. Johnny Dare, Ponch and Nikki, the Q Morning Show.
The Wolf Morning Show.
The Wolf Morning Show. I mean, it's like, what?
Shotgun.
Shotgun. All these people that we worked with
Sure.
or knew. And so what's your feelings on the current state of country radio and then radio in general, and particularly in this market?
Well, I picked up responsibility for Q104, which is kind of interesting.
I remember when that day happened.
Because when I came in, before they changed the laws in radio ownership level, in the old days, you could own an AM and FM and a newspaper in a town. And that was it. That was the ownership limit. And then the Telecom Act in 96 passed, and then you started having duopolies where you could have two FMs if you had a qualifying AM. And as you know, for years and years after Q104 flipped to country, you guys were like pummeling each other.
Yeah.
KF had a marketing and advertising budget in excess of $1 million a year.
We were giving away cars, trips around the world.
Yeah. And Q104 probably had about an $800,000 budget.
that's all.
A guy named Randy O'Neill owned KF at that time through Sconix Broadcasting.
The man that hired me.
And John Lynch, right? John Lynch, was it John Lynch owned Q104 through Noble Broadcasting.
Noble.
And those two guys hated each other. And they would spend whatever it took to pummel each other. So Randy, a pretty smart guy, he gets a guy named Alan Box at Easy Communications to do a backdoor deal. Alan at EZ is going to buy Q104. Lynch won't know what hit him. And then as a result, Randy's going to give Alan an option to buy KFKF, which is how we went through, turnstile owners. We went from Sconix Broadcasting to EZ. They were absorbed by American Radio, and American Radio was absorbed by CBS. Wow. And then we went that way until the
within a
LLC.
period of about, 5 years?
Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
It was pretty fast.
It was really fast. So back then, Mike Kennedy ran Q, and I came in running KFKF. And I thought, man, we're going to own both country FMs. The other guy's 61 country. They're on AM. We're going to kick their ass. And then I get there, and these two staffs hate each other. This was a shotgun marriage, right? And it went on that way for a while.
It took a while.
It did take a while. And now with me running it, what we're really trying to do is strategically position our two stations to beat the other guy. Two should beat one in every case.
But you and I wanted to do that for years.
Well, now we're doing it. And so far it's working out really well. So that's kind of where radio is right now. But unfortunately, all these companies are so far over leveraged, they're burning the furniture. And it's like, where's their expense that we can get rid of? And that's why I tell people in radio now, it's like you got to be different. You can't just be the same old nice voice reading the liner cards. You got to get yourself involved in the community, and you've got to get yourself into the revenue stream of the radio station, through endorsement ads and that sort of a thing. Yeah. And you've got to be that person in the market. And out of sheer survival necessity, that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to really burrow myself into the market.
Let's talk about what you and I did for years and years together, the State of Country Music. I was your music director, and we took a position strategically against the other stations to position ourselves, and it worked extremely well. But we've gone from George Strait, Reba, and Alan Jackson to Morgan Wallen, Jelly Roll, and Shaboozey. So where are we at?
Well, it's an interesting time. And I mean, you've seen a lot of those transitional periods where you get acts that may not, fit what you do. And on KFKF, we don't play any of that stuff.
That was the line that you and I decided to
And
draw.
it's still there.
Yeah.
Now on the Q side, it's a little different. Yeah. I mean, they're going to play the Shaboozies and the Dashes and all this other stuff that we would never touch. But that's the difference. And I've always said that as far as Q and KFKF, if you could put KFKF here on one hand and Q overlapping, and they're playing the really new stuff that we would never get to over here, and we're playing the really old stuff over here that they would never get to, there's no way for another station to come through that.
Yeah.
But what happens sometimes is you drift, and you get KF over here and Q over here, and then you create a lane in the middle, and that's where a DAF could come through. Mm-hmm. So being able to run both stations, I'm holding the line right there in the middle.
Are you concerned that we're not developing any more Kenny Chesneys or, Alan Jacksons or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, because you turn on that CMA award show or whatever it was last week, and you see, the Shabooz, Jelly Roll, and I like Jelly Roll. I mean, it's just but do they have legs? I mean,
they may or may not
be playing their songs in 10 years.
I don't know. And are we developing a gold library that people are going to want to tune into?
That's what you and I always talked about.
I don't know. That's a good question. But
Are you worried about it?
Well, I've got like 6 more years in this. And then I'm going to be where you are.
You don't give a damn. Play with the best stuff now.
Exactly. Yeah. Play the best that's out right now. Yeah. But I think younger people now don't look at it the way that we looked at it. They don't say, here's the country station, here's the adult contemporary, the rock.
Now.
It's music
to them.
That's
right. That's exactly
That's
right.
why Post Malone comes out with this huge album where he brings in country singers, and it's the biggest album of the year.
And we played it.
Right.
Yeah, because it was that good.
So what we have done, as you know, historically, is that if our audience, through the research that we do, if they tell us it's country, it's country.
Yeah. If they like it, we'll play it. And I keep saying we.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah, you're still there.
It's been fascinating listening to you guys talk because you cover an area that I never could even, I'm not even in the zip code. It's something that's so special. But, Dale, for 10 years, I would sit in the press box at Blue Springs and Blue Springs South football games. Now, did you ever broadcast when they all played all the games at Peavey?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I came in the first year that what became Larry Stewart Stadium opened.
Okay. It was just a master class. It was so good. And I'd catch myself, I've got my notebook and stats, and I'm just like, I'd just be listening to you, man. I mean, how did you make that transition and make it appear so easy when I know it wasn't?
Transition to?
The play-by-play.
Well, that's why I got in this business.
Oh.
I always wanted to be the play-by-play guy.
Okay.
When I was growing up in Evansville, a guy named Marv Bates, and I don't know if you know that name. He's a great subject to write about at some point. Marv Bates did play-by-play in Evansville. He was the voice of the University of Evansville Aces. He was killed in the plane crash that took the team in 1977. So Marv was very influential in what I do. There were other really good sports play-by-play guys there. There was a guy named Jiggs DeVault who was on one of the other stations who'd been a baseball player. And I went to Jiggs and I said, I really want to do this. I want to get into radio, and I want to do sports play-by-play. And I was that geeky kid in high school who took a tape recorder to the press box and recorded play-by-play. And there was another guy in Evansville named Curtis Hart at WGBF, and I sent him my tape, and I said, I think I'm pretty good. And he tore it apart like you wouldn't believe. And I credit him with a lot of what I eventually became. But, my entry into radio, which doesn't exist anymore, was doing the midnight to 6 show on Sunday morning on an AM country station, and only because I had a connection because the general manager went to my church. And then he sicks me on his program director. I'm between my sophomore and junior year in high school, right? I can't even drive yet. So I got, and the station was in downtown Evansville. I took 2 buses from my house to get downtown. I got a job as a day camp counselor at the YMCA, which was a glorified babysitter. And I would get down there before I was supposed to go in, and I'd sit with Tiny Hughes. Tiny was the program director and the morning guy, and he looked like Charlie Daniels if Charlie Daniels weighed 100 pounds more at his biggest.
So he wasn't tiny.
No. Maybe something was, but the man wasn't, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got it.
So I'd sit in on Tiny's show. And then as inevitably happened, and I know from all my years as a program director, when you've got a 24/7 station with live bodies, eventually you got to find somebody for that midnight to 6 on Sunday morning because it's not real glamorous. And her name was Jennifer. And Tiny said, I got a slot for you. We're going to put you on midnight to 6 on Sunday morning. And he says, oh, by the way, when Jennifer gets here, tell her she's fired. So here I am. I'm 15 years old, man. No. And I get there. One parent took me in. The other one come pick me up. And I'm there. And back then we had turntables, right? Everything was on record.
Right, sure.
So WROZ, Rosie Radio, 1400. Every country album that had ever been done was on a wall. And then we had a box in front of the board, and it was like 1 through 10, 11 through 20, blah, blah, blah. And Tiny's format back then was 1 out of the box, 1 off the wall. 1 out of the box, 1 off the wall. And so that's kind of how it all started for me. I made $2.90 an hour. And my stepfather, who was a policeman, and had been in the military, he kept going, I think you need to look into the military as a career. Yeah. 46 years I've been doing this now.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's my transition. I mean, I wanted to do sports first, and then the country radio came after it, but I've always tried to keep my feet in sports somehow.
I happened to talk to Alan Wilmus, the Blue Springs South coach, and Jen Paulson, the Blue Springs coach, this morning. Those guys inherited programs that were on life support.
They did.
And now they are good.
Well, when I left, it was Kelly Donahoe and Greg Oder.
Oh, well,
and we were at the top of the food chain.
Legends, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, look, I know you want to ask me something, but when I was in Evansville, I did play-by-play on the radio for 14 years with 7 city high schools and 8, if you count one that was in the county for the conference. And in all those years, I never did a state championship game with all of those schools to choose from. Indianapolis is just too big of a powerhouse. But I did 7 in 10 years with Blue Springs and Blue Springs South. And we won a lot of them.
I know. Unbelievable. How much fun are you having now that you've returned to see Blue Springs 3-0, Blue Springs South 3-0? I mean, I've already got October 17th on my calendar. That's when
huge.
They're going to play each other. How much fun are you having seeing the glory days return?
It's beautiful. Yeah. It is just awesome. And falling right back into it. I mean, Buddy Young is who I do the South games with, Tim Crone for Blue Springs, and they are very different personalities.
Oh, you think?
As you know. So for South games, it's like me pulling it out of Buddy, and with Tim, it's kind of like it's my turn to talk. But we get along great, and we have a fun time, and it's been amazing.
That's awesome.
All football coaches talk about the fans only see what happens on Friday nights. They don't see the 6 a.m. weight room calls during the summer and everything that else goes in. I see the sheet that you have, the preparation that you put in. The Blue Springs and Blue Springs South kids, you just know automatically. But then when you've got all these other kids, and it's seamless. A lot of times Tim will Tim Crone will get away. Well, number 35 made that tackle. And I'm okay. That used to work when the games were simulcast on
Right.
TV.
Exactly.
I love to give him a hard time about that. But how much work do you put in preparing for a broadcast?
For a high school game?
Yes.
It's not that bad because I'll get with like the coach, like this week it'll be Staley for Blue Springs, and I'll reach out to him and ask them for a roster and a 2-deep chart, and then I put my chart together, and then I'll get with the coach. I'll get with Jed this week for Blue Springs and ask him if he's made any changes since the last time I did them. So initially it's a little bit of work, but as the season goes on, it's not that bad.
And how special is it that those guys are just such great guys? They'll do anything for anybody that believes in them, and then they will in turn believe in you.
Well, I've always had that because I have these two guys now, and I had Greg Oder and Kelly Donahoe before. It's funny, when I met Greg Oder and Buddy for the first time, my kids went to Blue Springs High School, and so they weren't 100% sold on me, right? But I think they've seen over the years that I'm for the team from Blue Springs, and when October 17th, is that the date?
Yes.
For the Cat Clash.
Yes.
That's when I run up the flag of Switzerland.
There you go. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
This is something I mentioned in the intro. You're the youngest member ever inducted into the Country Radio Hall of Fame.
I know.
And you were instrumental in getting me nominated last year.
We're going to get you in.
Get this. Well, I can't thank you enough for that. You always hear at these award shows, well, it felt great to be nominated, but it really did. It was very awesome. So if I ever do make it, just think you'll be the youngest and I'll be the friggin' oldest.
I don't know that that's true.
Well, that's good. That makes me feel a little bit better. I want to talk about your podcast, Dale Carter's America. I've been watching you do this for years, but we want to tell our audience
How it came about.
And what it's all about.
Yeah. So Mark Harrell, the general manager at KFKF, when podcasting was the new shiny object that everybody was talking about, he puts out the words like, I want everybody to do a podcast.
Yeah.
It's got to be whatever you want to do. And, he would blow and go about it. And he kept asking me, I want you to do a podcast. What are you going to do? You should know this about Mark. He's very liberal. All right. And the owners of our company are very liberal. And I said, Mark, if I do it, you're going to hate it. And he goes, I don't care. I'll probably just listen to the first one. I'll never listen to it again. Just do it. It's something that we can sell. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So we ended up doing it. And Kurt Wheeler is the guy who helps me with it. He's the producer of it. And we started in the little voice tracking room outside the KFKF
I told you
studio.
it was in a small studio.
So a room from about here to Bill.
Yeah.
And we were like knee to knee in there, and that's where we did it. Then we moved into the bigger production studio, and then Kurt kept making it a bigger deal. It went from audio only to video, lights like this. He's got colored lights. We got red lights and blue lights, and we got a huge monitor now where we bring in people on Zoom or all that. And it has really taken off. Now, from the radio station perspective, they had Frontier Justice sponsor it for about 6 weeks, and then they went away, and there was nobody doing anything with it. And I went to the owners, and I said, I think this thing has some potential. Let me take it. Yeah. So we set up our own LLC, and we have 7 or 8 clients in it, and it's making significant revenue. And they're okay with it. They're like, kill whatever you eat. They look at it as a way to enhance my personality and help make me more valuable to them in the long run. Like being in the New York Post or the New York Times. I mean, who saw that coming? I guess. So we were going to do politics from my perspective. That's why it's Dale Carter's America, and we started. Instructionally, John Kennedy, the senator from New Orleans, would love that guy. I love that guy. We have clips from him all the time on that thing.
He's awesome.
I love him. So we started with the Articles of the Constitution. Here's what Article 1 is. And we did a whole hour on it.
So it was educational.
Here's what Article 2 is. And then we went through the amendments. And that's why when I play a clip from Maxine Waters where she wants the 25th article, the 25th article. It's like, well, there's a 25th amendment, but there's not 25 articles. And honest to God, I don't think half these people in Congress, and I'd put Republicans in there, they've never read the thing. They don't know what it does.
Sad.
Yeah. So and it's grown from there. We went through. We started the thing the day Joe Biden was inaugurated, And I wanted to take him at his word because I'll be honest with the two of you, and I've been honest on the podcast, Donald Trump's really not my cup of tea. Yeah. It's the clown car. He's getting things done, though. If you can shut off the clown car and just look at what he's doing, if he would be more like Biden and not do press conferences, but he does one every day. It's like his stand-up routine.
Yeah.
So we took Joe at his word and then picked him apart day by day as he went against everything. Because remember his inaugural, he said, I'm just a normal guy. I'm just Joe. Give me a chance. And then he started demonizing everything we stood for. Remember his red light speech in front of the Independence Hall, with Marines behind him, which was also unconstitutional, but nobody called him on it. So that's kind of where it's gone and, where it is now.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about what the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I imagine you
crushed.
You and Kirk are going to discuss that on your next episode.
We are,
and I'm just gonna say that, and we can have a discussion about it.
And I haven't even talked to Kurt about this yet, but I think what we're going to do moving forward, because I like to have the other side represented. One of my favorite guests is Phil Lavoda, and Phil may well end up being the interim Jackson County executive. Love Phil. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican, but at the county level, 80 to 90% of what they do has nothing to do with Republican and Democrat. Right. It's about being competent and getting things done, and we're totally incompetent right now. But we have Democrats on. I had Manny Abarca on last week.
Really
had coffee with him last week. I like him. Yeah. There's a lot we could argue about. So I think we're going to call that the Charlie Kirk seat on the podcast. Nice. When we have people from the other side on, because that's what he did. It's like he would be there on a college campus, and it's like, who disagrees with me? I want you in the front row because we're going to talk.
Prove me wrong.
If we need, exactly. Let's talk. Let's don't shoot each other. Let's talk.
So sad. Yeah. Well, in your effort to make a difference in your adopted hometown, as you say, Blue Springs, you spent a number of years on the city council.
I did.
And now you're taking that a step further. You had a big announcement, a week or two ago, about the Jackson County legislature. I'd love for you to.
Well, one of the things we did on the podcast for a while, we made a big deal out of it, was I called Jeff Coleman, who's a member of the Missouri House. I guess the straw for me, after all the appraisal issues and all that, I mean, you live in Jackson County, Bill, do you?
I do.
Okay, then you know what we've dealt with here in Jackson County. But the straw for me was when they wanted to taking down the Andrew Jackson statues on the ballot again after we voted overwhelmingly to leave the damn things alone. Yeah. And I'm like, I called Jeff and I said, is there any way we can just take what's ours and make our own county? And he said, I'm working on a bill for that. And so we made a big deal out of it. Let's just form our own county. They can have that. We'll take this. There's precedent for it in Missouri. In 1876, St. Louis City divorced itself from St. Louis County. So there is precedent for it. This would be different. This would be us wanting to leave them behind. And we talked about that for a while. We did some live podcast events on it. We even named it Truman County. It came back to me. Somebody said, hey, have you heard about Truman County? And I'm like, I think we started that. My thought process on it was, you've got two courthouses. You've got Kansas City and you've got Independence. This is the only county that has two. It is. Yeah. Only county in Missouri that has both. The line is already there. You could do it. And Harry is buried literally blocks away from that courthouse. And it might get some Democrats to come on board when the vote happens. Yeah. So that's where we were on that. And I don't know, some folks talked to me and convinced me that maybe it might be easier and better if we fixed it from the inside. So that's why I'm going to run. I'm going to try and work with people like Manny Abarca. I mean, he's a rational guy. There's some irrationality going on in that courthouse, but he's a rational guy, and he gets it. And he knows, because we had this conversation, that the tax base has moved further east. So the way I put it is, we're the cash register for downtown Kansas City. And, we need to hold them accountable for what they're spending. They spend over $500 million a year of our money. So I want taxes lower. I want the assessments more rational. I want to do a top-down audit of everything in that county because I think there's incompetence going on there and there's corruption. It's equal parts. With Frank, it's complete incompetence. I mean, we voted for the second baseman for the Kansas City Royals, and that's exactly what we got.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the bowels of that building, there's some other things going on.
And that election is
September 30th.
The election for the seat.
Oh.
That's November of next year, correct?
2026.
Okay.
So our campaign kickoff event is going to be October 28th at Funhouse Pizza in Blue Springs.
Oh.
And my events are always going to be fun. So we're going to have a pizza special. Do you know Jim Dingman at Funhouse Pizza? Great guy. And I said, Jim, we need to put together a special and all that. And he says, well, how about 2026? We'll do a large pie and
I
2
saw
drinks.
it on your post, yeah.
And
For
it's like,
2026.
yeah. So, and it's a bigger footprint. It's not just Blue Springs. It's Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner. And we're going to do things in all of those towns over the course of the year, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Also want to thank you for not only your help and involvement with, but for introducing me to Daryl Smith and Hero Fund USA.
Oh, yeah.
Because ever since I left KF on December 20th, and here I am in January 6th in the office at Hero Fund. But I love it. I kind of they tell me you don't have to be here every day, but I kind of am because I'm one exit down. And for those of you who've heard us talk about it, Hero Fund provides funding for first responder protective gear without the involvement of the government. And Dale and KFKF have been a partner with Hero Fund all of this year for a First Responder of the Month. In fact, Wednesday, you and we're going to honor a young man named Kyle Finley. He is a firefighter in the Grandview Fire Department.
Good.
And so that's what we're going to do. But I do want to thank you for that. I really appreciate KF's involvement and your involvement with Hero Fund.
One other thing I'd like to say to you guys, I'm a really spiritual guy, like you, cradle Catholic, don't go to Mass nearly as often as I should, but I pray every day. And I pray for this country and I pray for this world. And I've been called to do a lot of things. I feel it in my heart and my soul. And the Jackson County thing is just the next thing. And as I pray every morning, it's like, God, just give me the hours in the day to do this. And I don't know about you guys, but I can look back at things that have happened to me and reflect on it and go, God was there. So if you think about what happened to me with the Chiefs, nobody would ever believe that something as iconic as what we were doing would be the reason I would quit. And as I look back, it's like, you didn't want me doing that anymore.
That's right.
That comes off my plate in a way that nobody would ever believe.
That I believe it. I believe this too. There are no coincidences in life. There are no coincidences in life. Things happen not for a reason, but because, and we're not going to get way spiritual here, but it's God's will. And that was the same thing with Hero Fund. I wanted to do something. Jerry and I talked about, well, when we retire, what do we want to do? I want to do something. I don't know. Do I want to work more with St. Jude? We've been involved with St. Jude ever since he got there to the station. And this just kind of happened to fall into place. First responders. I mean, there was a time, and there still are some places right now, but there was a time a few years ago where if you were associated with police,
Absolutely.
we don't, and there, I won't mention who, but there have been, and it's not here, which is really good. But we had made contact with a big city in the United States that said, we'd love to get involved with you, but not with the police. We just will donate for firefighters.
Wow.
So it's like, and Daryl said, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. We're moving on. Yeah. But I do want to thank you for that. And,
well, look at KCK. Just in recent times here, we've had a sheriff's deputy and a police officer both killed in the line, and just by thugs who should be in a jail somewhere. And then I see a report on KCTV5 last week that my head almost exploded. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a woman who was assaulted near the Kansas City Star building, right?
Yeah.
And she called the police, and they grabbed him, and he had warrants outstanding. They take him to jail, and the jail's closed. Sorry, there's no room.
The jail's closed.
So they let him go. Does that not make your brain want to explode?
About firefighter Graham Hoffman.
Oh.
Who gets stabbed by someone that he's trying to help.
Exactly.
Who had just 2 days prior had been arrested for trying to assault another officer, but she was
We have two problems in this civilization right now, and they're almost exclusively in the cities. You've got criminals, and a lot of them are juveniles who are committing adult crimes, who are being turnstile right back out onto the street. And then, quite frankly, you've got crazy people out there who need to be in an institution.
Right.
So I'm not a big government guy. I'm a small government guy. But I'll spend tax money to build a big enough jail to get every criminal off the street, and I'll spend tax money to build institutions to deal with people who need help.
And that's what we need. I think that's what we need to really concentrate on in this country. And because we use mental illness, and I think mental illness is as critical as physical illness. But we seem to use the term, well, he was mentally ill, as opposed to, no, he's a damn criminal.
Well, and
he's killed. He was 14 times he was let go, and I'm talking about that guy on the train.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and nobody helped that woman either, which just, I couldn't believe that. But when you're a danger to somebody else, it really doesn't matter to me why you're a danger to somebody else. We need to segregate you from the rest of society so we can get things done, because in a civilization, if you don't have public safety, that's the first building block. Then you don't have anything. You know, it's like that Sunfresh grocery store that Kansas City poured millions of dollars into. They did it because it's not a safe neighborhood and nobody would build a grocery store there. You make the neighborhood safe, the grocery store will show up there. Yeah. Government needs to stick to what it does best. What does it do best? Well, it does public safety. It puts out fires, builds roads. Honestly, beyond that, I'm not really sure what local government ought to be doing.
Yeah. I agree with you. Man, thanks.
Yeah.
This is great. This has been awesome. I got to ask you one more before you go. One last time. Do the third down call.
From the 35-yard line, it's third down.
Hell yeah. Dale Carter, everybody. Wow, Dale Carter live here on Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. That was great. We are going to have another in-studio guest with us next week. This time it's all about music because he is a local performer. He's actually been a national performer. He's spent a lot of time in Nashville. He's a great songwriter, a terrific singer. I know a lot of you know Noe Palma. And Noe's going to be right in here with Bill and me, and he's going to sing. We're going to talk to him. He's got a great story. Noe, and I don't want to tell all the details, but Noe is a Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department fire captain. And he's been playing music in this town for a long time, and he is a great one. So he's going to be with us next week. Hey, there's one thing I wanted to mention. It's kind of a personal story for me, but a lot of people knew Calvin Coolidge. Calvin, not the president. Calvin was a wonderful entertainer here in Kansas City for many, many years. My connection with Calvin was when I was in high school. I'm telling you guys, I had the neatest job because me and a bunch of my high school friends were elevator operators. Yeah, we had to wear the suits and all that stuff. Elevator operators at the Continental Hotel in downtown Kansas City. Why was that such a big deal? Well, number one, the Playboy Club was on the penthouse floor, the 22nd floor. So, yeah, we got to know all the Playboy bunnies, especially the ones that were underage, and they just got to stand at the door. We was all friends with them. That was a lot of fun. Also, before the Royals had built I think they were out at the Adams Mark Hotel, and they did a lot of their stuff there, but all of their press conferences and things were at the Continental Hotel. The wrestlers used to work out on the 8th floor at the Kansas City Athletic Club, and a guy named Calvin Coolidge, who was really making strides in the entertainment here in Kansas City, was playing in the lobby lounge called the Inner Circle Lounge. And he was a solo performer. I'll never forget, he played an orange Gretsch guitar. He played guitar. He sang. He was a comedian. He was freaking funny, had a great voice. He was just a great entertainer, and he was very popular. Between the Playboy Club on weekends being packed, and Calvin would play 6 nights a week. So he and I got to be, we got to be pretty good friends. I was there 6 nights a week, and so was he. And he knew that I was starting my band playing career, my music career, as a 16-year-old at the time. And, I would tell him, yeah, I'm playing. What do you play? Well, I'm playing bass guitar and I'm singing. And I said, I love listening to you, man. It's good. And he says, well, what kind of guitar you got? Well, I said, well, I'm saving up whatever little money little gigs that we're playing. I want to buy a nice real guitar here in the next couple of years. And so, probably a year later or so, it was the following year, I started working there right after I turned 16. It was probably the next summer or winter, whatever, about a year later. He walks in, and he had a room on one of the floors, and I would always take him up every night, and then I'd pick him up, come down and play. He came in one night holding 2 guitar cases. And he walks in. I said, man, what'd you do? Did you buy a new guitar? He goes, yeah, I did. I said, oh, wow. He says, you want to see it? I said, yeah, I really would. He says, park the elevator when we get up and come in. I'd never been in his room. And we went inside, and he goes, go ahead and open it up. I opened it up, and it was a beautiful, deep red Epiphone bass. And I said, what are you doing with the bass? He goes, I'm not. It's yours. And he gave it to me. And it's like I didn't want to take it. I mean, even at 16, I was like, why is this guy doing this for me? And he goes, just keep practicing, and you'll be good someday. I just know it. And that's my Calvin Coolidge story. And he ended up playing in that Inner Circle Lounge for years. And, the men and women from Channel 9 were just up the street from us. They'd come in there every night, Len Dawson, all of them. And I just never forget that. And Calvin passed away just a couple of days ago. He was 81 years old. He was a legend in Kansas City. That's my Calvin Coolidge story. Godspeed, and thanks for that guitar, brother. Full podcast episodes of Bill and Tony on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon. Please like and subscribe if you don't mind. Comment, and we'll be glad to get back with you and answer your comments. We'll be glad to do it on our podcast. So we'll be back next week again with another episode of Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. He's Bill Althouse. I'm Tony Stevens. You guys take care.
Take care.